This episode of Film Riot is brought to you by Domain.com. Today on Film Riot, editing and workflow stuffs. Just filmmaking stuffs. And stuffs. Welcome to Film Riot, the show that takes a boop, right up. I'm your host, Ryan Conley, and today we're talking about more post-production with editing and workflow goodness, all from questions that you guys have been asking, so you know, filmmaking stuffs. Grab a chair, some beverage, maybe some popcorn of some kind with caramel on it. Caramel? I don't really know. Bumper. So as you guys know, I'm a huge Adobe guy. Ever since I switched over in 2011, I just haven't looked back. And though some people might not be liking the CC subscription thing, I adore it, especially since they're always rolling out updates now. I mean, if there's an issue, they just fix it. There's no more waiting to the new version of the software, and I love that. The other great thing about CC is that with this monthly subscription, I get all of Adobe software, so that's like 90% of my post-production workflow right there. Just done and done. It's a beautiful thing. So I go to my Creative Cloud app here, which manages everything for me, and I can download whatever software I want or run updates. Me loves it. Me loves. For me, I'm in Adobe Premiere. I was in Adobe Premiere while I was using Mac, and now that I switched over to PC, it was a really easy switch since I'm on Adobe Premiere. And I've done a lot of testing with other platforms, but for me, this is the best, hands down. But before I start editing, I have to bring in my footage and organize all that goodness. Perverted. Now the disclaimer here is that this is my process, but I think it will be helpful to a lot of you since a lot of you work like I do, alone in a cave, editing by myself, just away from everyone else. If you were working with a big team that was sharing the project, you'd have to get a lot more specific. So again, this is my method for doing things super run and gun when there's not much time to organize and you're basically doing everything yourself, not how everyone does it.
And here, for the first time on the screen, is the warmth of a handshake.
First, I create a folder for the project, and inside that, I create another folder for Premiere files, AE files, audition files. Then I create a folder for some footage, audio, temp music, and images. Now I'll start bringing in my footage by scene. So if I have 9 scenes, I'm gonna make 9 folders. I will label them something like proximity_1, proximity_2, and so on. And then I will drop all the clips for each scene into the corresponding folders. To the clips, and they have scenes, and they're from that, and the folder that they should go into. I think that clears it up.
My. Ain't science wonderful?
And just to take a time out to explain the type of project we're dealing with here, these are untitled clips, completely unorganized, and most without any slate to it at all to tell us what it even is. This is okay because we shot it and we're the ones that are gonna be editing it. If you shot but you are not editing, you do not want to do this. This is where slating and scene numbers are an absolute must. But this was the type of project where we didn't have the time or manpower to do any of those extra organizational things, so everything's kind of just tossed into one pot and now we pay the price. So with that out of the way, I'll jump back into it. Now I'm gonna go into each scene and make folders for the character names that are in the scene, masters, and so on. So for this scene, I'm gonna make a folder for Jake, Luke, and Master, and then I'm gonna drop the corresponding clips in there. So all the shots of Luke are gonna go in the Luke folder, for Jake into the Jake folder, and then all the Master shots obviously into the Master folder. After going through it scene by scene, it's time to bring it into Premiere, which again, after the last episode, I got a surprising amount of people who were asking about my software of choice, and a lot not knowing that Adobe Premiere is on Mac and PC. So yes, you can get Premiere on Mac or PC, whatever you want to do. To bring them in, I'm going to create a project, which I will save to my Premiere folder, then create a folder for my footage. Then beneath that, I'm going to make a folder for each scene. And now I will bring in the folders one scene at a time by dragging and dropping. Once done with that, I have this, and I'm going to start naming my clips to help me as I'm editing. That way I can see at a glance what something is and I don't have to continually click. I don't usually do that for Film Riot sketches, as there's usually not that many clips and we're moving too fast to organize in any kind of way. But with stuff like proximity, I do. Otherwise, you find yourself clicking on clip after clip, looking for the right one, and that's no good when you get into that creative zone. You just want to be able to move fast and free. But now with everything organized, I start my first assembly, which I never really edit without temp music anymore. I used to years ago, but I finally realized that I was always in panic mode, thinking I made the worst thing ever because I was looking at my edit with no sound work done at all, which you've heard me say that audio is one of, if not the most important technical element to your film. It makes such a massive difference that looking at a scene without the audio work on it can make the scene look like a pile of crap. Here's an example. This is Josh and Todd's fight scene with the original rough audio.
Calm down!
And now, here is that exact scene with absolutely nothing changed except the audio and music.
Calm down!
Massive difference. I'm almost embarrassed to show the first one. So now, as I edit, especially when editing action, I always drop in temp sound effects and temp music as I go. This is also very helpful when you're trying to find the right tone for a scene and for communicating with my composer the exact emotion that I want. Of course, after every first draft of my edit, I panic a little bit. There's always a ton of things to fix, but at least I'm not trying to throw myself off a bridge when I'm using that temp sound and music. That goes with blending your audio as well. If you have rough cuts in your audio, meaning you hear the sound change dramatically from cut to cut, it causes your edit to look terrible. For instance.
What do you think? You agree?
Yeah.
Good.
But if I take that back and blend it.
What do you think? You agree?
Yeah.
Good.
The editing flows much better now, but with those sound changes in there, it draws the attention to the cuts and makes the whole thing feel off. I've noticed that this is an issue in some of the shorts that get sent to me, and it's an easy fix. When you shoot, just make sure you're getting room tone, which is when you record the sound of the environment you are shooting in. Everyone stays completely still and you can get the silence of the room. Reason being is because nothing is ever actually completely silent. And now we can use this to edit our audio in post. So now when I go in, I find where I have a big audio cut and I make a fade in between them to feather that cut. But if there's dialogue keeping you from being able to do that, or you need to edit out a director's voice or add in the sound that is in one shot but not in the other, you can use the room tone that you got to make it all work. Because again, nothing is ever actually fully silent. If I take this clip of me talking in the background to the actors and I actually just cut to silence to edit out my voice, we have this. Super odd and distracting, but if I take my room tone to edit me out instead, we get this. And these are all simple things that are going to save your project from feeling super amateur. Domain.com is the place to go to get yourself a website if you're trying to get yourself a website, to have a website for the internet website. They have domain names, they have web hosting, both are delicious. You can open a bag of domain.com and just, you know what I'm saying? It's delicious. Hosting service is reliable and affordable. They got the domain discovery service to help you pick the right name for you. And if you use the coupon code FilmRiot at checkout, get 15% off your order. That's savings to save you money so you can open the bag of deliciousness and chew on it. So use the coupon code FilmRiot at checkout, and when you think domain names, think domain.com.
Logo.
So at this point in the process, I have finished my temp edit, so now I want to go through and add all the temp VFX so that my artists can see exactly what I want for the pacing of it. And this is something that I really love about Adobe CC. Right-click the clip that I want to work on and send it right to After Effects to do what I need. In here, I can add the lights on the shackles and then pop back into Premiere and see that it is updated to show my temp work. This saves me so much time. It's how I send my green screen footage to Key as well. Then I export the clip from After Effects and bring it into Premiere. That way I'm not exporting twice, out of Premiere to After Effects and out of After Effects to Premiere. But once I've gone through and added all my temp effects, I'll do a temp sound mix as well so I can show people my rough cut and get some notes on it. So again, I'll use the sending function of CC to send my film to Audition to work on. I'll do some basic tweaks in here and get it to a reasonably good area because when I send my rough cuts out, I don't want anything that's unnecessarily distracting. Ungraded footage is fine for me, but as I showed you before, I always want my audio to be smooth.
Perverted.
But that was my basic workflow on proximity. Next week, we're talking more VFX from the little to the bigger and how I managed and sent out the shots that I needed with my other VFX artists. As we told you guys before, if you want more of an in-depth look on how we shot the film, you can get the digital copy of the film right here at our store. We have tons of goodies there as well. Also, during a recent visit to San Francisco, I got to be a giraffe. So there's that. You can watch that here. And I'll see you guys next time when I jump out of an airplane with an elephant.